I'd like to welcome everyone to the Comedy Factory Comedy Chat. I got two great friends of mine that are on tonight. These guys, hilarious. I worked with them both many, many times. They've been doing a podcast. I don't know how long. It seems like a while now. Behind the Funny. I've been on it a couple of times. They've had some unbelievable guests on the last year. Bob Marley, Ed the Machine, Regine. Did you have Tom Cotter on too?
Yep.
Tom Perrotta. They've had some. We're going to talk about all these guests they've had on and how they're doing. Aceto and Scott Higgins. How you guys doing?
Thanks,
Good,
brother
buddy.
John.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Still talking Italian, but here I am. Getting through the pandemic, guys. This is the second time I had you guys on since the last time. You guys are blowing up with your guests, man. I'm helping the new guys. I got new comics and veteran guys, and I look. Ace and Scott got this one, that one, Tom Carter, Bob Marley. So you're going really great with the podcasts.
Well, we started similar though, John. Like Ace said earlier when we were chatting beforehand, we just talked to a lot of the local guys, a lot of new guys, and it was a lot of fun. And then we got lucky and got a few bigger name guys, and then we just got to a point where it's like, the hell with it. We're just going to reach out to some of these bigger name people. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
They don't answer you or they say no. So why not? And to our surprise, a lot of these people were like, yeah, sure, I'll come on. We reached out to Bobby Collins in California, and he's like, yeah, I'll come on.
Yeah.
And we had him on for
I was thinking of getting Bobby Collins,
conversation.
because I had met him a couple of times. Yeah. I didn't
He was
realize you had him on.
great. He was great.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I worked with him one time at the Connection. He featured. He was awesome.
And you know what, John? What's interesting is even some of the people that have said no, they're just saying no for now. Like there's a couple of people, we don't want to give it away, but we've got like two or three big names that are like, hey, you know what? I've been doing a ton of these things. I'm going to take a couple of months off. Get back to me in May or June. One guy relocated to another country. And he said, I want to wait until I get settled in this, in this role. He got a job out in, I don't even know. So we're somewhere in Southeast Asia. I think right now he's in one country and he has to stay there for a certain amount of time before he can go to the country where he got the job. And he's going to be running like basically that country's Comedy Central. And he said, listen, I got a lot going on, but reach back out in May. And, May or June. So awesome. It's interesting. You just ask, and very few people have flat out said no. Most people, it's been like, hey, get back to me. There's a couple of people that Scott even reached out to that said, hey, I got a lot of stuff going on, but, we'll, revisit it in a couple of months. And
I'd love to get Bob Marley. I had thought of that a while back because I was supposed to open for him at the Connection like a bunch of years ago. And, then I got sick. I went up in the hospital, but then I was out. I went and saw him that Friday night. He was the guy was setting up the T-shirts outside, and said I tell Bob, John Perrotta, I used to work with him, and so he went in the camper, and then he just come in. I went into the camper and I talked to Bob for about
just
half hour, 20 minutes, half hour. He was so cool.
It's amazing because I think it really took off when we decided to start divvying up the duties on the podcast. I do the recording, the editing, and uploading, and then Ace said I'll start booking the guests and the scheduling and all of that. And he, because he's been around doing comedy a lot longer than I have, so he started going through the Rolodex, and that's how we got Ed Regine on. He reached out to Mike Bent, who teaches comedy at Emerson University, and we started getting these bigger name people. And it's funny because a few of them would come on and they'd be like, all right, let's see how it goes. And the next thing you know, they're on for an hour and a half, and they're like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And who you should talk to, and they would recommend people.
Exactly. Well, and the funny thing, you bring up Bob Marley, like he's a perfect example. We talked to him last summer, and he's like, hey, how long is this thing? And we're like, whatever time you got, Bob, like 45 minutes. He goes, all right. Yeah, I could probably do 45. I'm up at camp with my sons, and I told him I'd take them swimming after this. So yeah, I could do like 45 minutes. An hour and 15 in, we're like, he goes, oh, I got one more story for you, So he was just having such a good time because it really, our show is really just it's a very conversational show. That's what I tell people. It's conversational. Yes, it's an interview, but it's not like we have our set questions that we ask everyone. We'll go off on tangents. We'll come back. We'll ask a question, but it's really all about them. It's all about them and their career. highlights, lowlights, but we'll go off on tangents all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't prepare at all on this. I just wing it.
No,
we don't really prepare so much. We might talk a little bit about it, but we don't want it to be like, when did you start? When did you do that? We don't want it to be robotic. We want it to be a conversation. And I think probably Ace, I think that one of the best examples had to be Judy Carter. Because
that was unbelievable. You got her. I remember reading her book when I took Frank O'Donnell's comedy class in 1991.
Yeah, but John, when we started that interview, when we first started talking to her at the beginning, she seemed apprehensive because she's like, when we sat, she goes, "How long is this?" And we said, 45 minutes, or so. She said, "Well, I'll give you 25 to 30. Let's see how it goes." And she was on for over an hour.
Over an hour. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. She must have been cool. I got to listen to that one.
She was
read a
really
couple
awesome.
of her books.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really interesting because, we knew that she wrote, the books. She wrote the Comedy Bible. She wrote Stand Up, the book. Now she has the new version of the Comedy Bible. And we, but it was interesting to learn more about her. Like when she started off doing magic. That's how she started.
Yeah.
And then she found that she was kind of making people laugh in between the magic tricks. And
I started doing magic too. I made two ex-wives disappear.
But you made one.
The second one reappear. I made a reappear.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but that was the interesting thing when we talked to her. She opened up. I think because especially it's easy when we're talking to friends like you, to go on for an hour. I think most people are like, all right, I don't know these two schmucks from Rhode Island. I don't really know them. I was Facebook friends with Judy, and I had reached out once and said, "Hey, I read your book years ago. Thanks so much." But, I didn't have anything, any real relationship. But by the end, and I think this is a testament to both of us, by the end of these episodes where people are apprehensive, I think they realize we're just fans. We're comedians who are also fans of comedy, and we just want to learn about them. We're not trying to yuck it up. I mean, definitely there are some episodes where we are having a lot of fun, talking to people, but we've had just as much fun with people we don't know as people that we do know.
Well, and not to keep giving examples, but Ace, how about Martin Olson?
Oh my God, I love that guy.
That was one we not only laughed our asses off, but he gave us our biggest compliment I think we've ever gotten from any guest ever.
Absolutely. I mean, he was like, if I ever come out to the East Coast, I want to grab a beer with you guys. I'm like, this is, so John, I don't know if you know who Martin Olson is.
I've heard of him.
Oh, you've heard of him. All right. So do you remember whenever you look at how Boston comedy started, it all started at a place called the Ding Ho.
Ding Ho, yeah.
And the Ding Ho, just like Periwinkles, if you remember Periwinkles, before the comics would go on back in the day, do you remember they'd have the guitar playing dentist?
Yeah.
Pat McGurk?
Pat McGurk, yeah.
Yeah, he would go up and he would play some songs to intro before the show to warm up the crowd. Well, at the Ding Ho, they used to have piano players. And Martin Olson was one of the piano players at the Ding Ho. So he used to play people up, but he would still be on stage while people were doing their act. So, I mean, here's a guy who started and was playing the piano for Paula Poundstone and Bobcat Goldthwait and Tony V and Barry Crimmins and all those people who started the Boston comedy scene, Don Gavin, Steve Sweeney. And
that's amazing.
He moved to LA and ended up being the executive producer and showrunner for the show Phineas and Ferb. That's the car. And then we end up talking to him and he goes, "Oh yeah, my daughter's really talented too. Have you ever heard of Adventure Time?" And we're like, "Yeah." Adventure Time was like this adult teen cartoon on, what was it on? Comedy Central or MTV?
I think it was Comedy Central.
And his daughter played like one of the main characters, the vampire princess. Wow. So we were just like, we were enthralled. And the funny thing with his episode was he kept trying to divert the conversation away from his career. And he just wanted to talk about like all the comics that we knew. But it's like, all right, we've already talked to those people. We want to talk to you. We want to hear about your career. Because he kind of said, oh yeah, so I worked for Disney for many years. And we're like, you just glossed over working for Disney. Like, what the hell did you do for them?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, have you ever heard of Phineas and Ferb? I'm like, yeah, talk about that.
He was such a humble guy.
Oh my God.
And I think, John, that's probably like, he said, we were talking about another comic that we were surprised opened up to us. And he said, you guys are missing one important factor, you two. He said, you two guys are very easy to talk to and very fun to talk to. He goes, that's the thing with this podcast and you guys. It's the two of you. And we're like, we for a minute, we didn't even respond. We didn't know what to say because it was like two schmucks sipping bourbon in a basement in Rhode Island, or, it was just.
That was a huge compliment.
It was such a huge compliment from a guy like that. And, we've had a blast. We're blessed that we get to talk to these people because, like Ace said, I think in the end, they realize we're fans of them. We're not looking to, we're not trying to be gotcha or get them to tell these bad stories. We're genuinely interested in them.
Yeah, I think my biggest, I had Christine Hurley, I had Tammy Pescatelli on.
Yep.
That's big, John.
That's big.
Tammy Pescatelli, she's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Christine. One of my favorite episodes too was we had Paul Barkley, who was the original owner of the Comedy Connection.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy, him and Billy Downs are the ones that started both the Ding Ho and the Comedy Connection, believe it or not. So that was an interesting one.
When we had Christine Hurley on, the title of her episode, John, was dedicated
was about
to you.
It was about me.
Yeah, because we were talking about you with Christine, and she said, "Oh, I love that, John Perrotta. If I had a uterus, I'd give him a baby."
So that's what we like naming the episodes based on something that comes up during the episode, like some one-off line.
So what was that episode called?
That episode was if I had a uterus, I'd give him a baby.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's so funny because
she's crazy.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like we've had some other people, like even Dave Radigan. His episode was "Cause I'm an Idiot," because during the episode we said, "So Dave, what made you get from going from being a comic to booking shows?" Because we all know that takes a special leap and you got to deal with a lot of crap when you start booking. And he goes, "Cause I'm an idiot." So we made that the name of the episode.
Or when we had Al Del Bene on.
All right, I don't know. Double check and make sure that we could say this.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not that bad.
No, it's really not.
Al Del Bene was saying how attractive Ace still is.
That I still look young,
and how young Ace is. And he said Ace has the sphincter of an albino bunny.
So that was the name of his episode.
Al Del Bene.
We talked about.
I still got a beef with Al Del Bene. I never settled. And I went to Boston to. They had me on the film they're doing a documentary and a comedy in Boston, but he asked me a couple of things and I shouldn't have probably said it, but I told Al Del Bene, we won't get into the whole story, but he cost me, I was booking Dave's Bar and Grill. It was a great room. We got a decent budget on a Sunday night. We all made a few bucks. I think they fed us. It's like this great room for a year and a half.
And they loved them, John.
Yeah, they loved it. And Al Del Bene comes in. And he went on a tirade, and people got up and walked out. They had to walk him. Dave Andrews, a comedian, had to walk him through the kitchen to get him out of the place. He lost the room, and I was like, I never saw Al Del Bene again. I'm not the kind of guy to punch him in the face, but I like to. What the hell are you doing?
He actually, you should listen to his episode because he did talk about that.
He still feels bad about it.
He feels bad about it, and he said what happened, and he said, he was newer. And he didn't realize that the woman that was disrupting his show, he was the only one that could hear her. Like, I think the rest of the crowd couldn't hear her, but he didn't realize that. So he went after her. And, it wasn't the appropriate thing. But yeah, listen to that episode, John. I think it might bring some closure to you guys. Maybe
send me the link. I don't know because
I will. Maybe.
If they put the documentary with what I said in it, it's gonna heat up. It's gonna heat up between me and Al Del Bene. But he's in Australia.
Exactly. He's a half a world away. But maybe someday we'll get you guys both in the same country. If he ever apologized
to me, I probably wouldn't have said the
he
story
did feel
on the
bad.
documentary.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah.
All I know is he was walked out. I don't even know if I paid him. He walked him out of the kitchen and got him out of there. He
Yeah.
might have got killed. This is back in the 90s. This is
Yeah,
back
I
like
remember that.
mid-90s. I had Bobby Kelly
Yeah.
there and all you guys.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, well,
nuts.
Dave's Bar and Grill loved us too, because I remember they used to ask us for our headshots. Like they had a whole wall, where almost like a comedy club where they put your headshots up on the wall.
Really?
That was probably the
I have a
biggest.
feeling if you go into Dave's Bar and Grill now, that's probably the it's probably the flooring in the bathroom now.
I
all our
went back.
headshots.
Hey, I went back and talked to the owner.
Multiple
couple of times. I
times.
wrote him a letter, so he'd love to come back, and I finally gave up. I said he's never gonna have us back.
Yeah.
Thanks to Al Del Bene.
Yeah.
Better switch the subject.
Yeah, right. I know. Poor John, his blood pressure's going up. He's gonna have another stroke.
We all make choices on stage sometimes. We hope
we
will
regret.
pay off, and they don't always pay off.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes we regret them,
Yeah,
and that's why we love to ask at the end of our episodes for bad gig stories from comics, because there are plenty of them.
Funny. That's the one question we ask everyone, even if we go off on tangents. We always ask someone, tell us a story about a bad gig, a funny bad gig where it wasn't funny the night of, you probably wanted to quit comedy, but the further away you get from that night, you start to realize just how funny it was. And I'd say about 60% of people say, so John Perrotta booked me for this gig.
Are you serious?
we
60%?
always, yeah, I'd say about 60. We always say, we love you, John.
Yes.
Whenever we say a Perrotta,
as soon as your name comes up.
Hey, I'll be dead 50 years. I'll still be talking about Perrotta gigs, good and
exactly.
bad.
Yeah, exactly. The
marathon Seekonk Ramada intros.
The Seekonk Marada, we called them the Perrotta-thons.
Those were the first gigs and the only gigs I've ever seen the headliner go on in the middle.
Yeah, right. Because we were complaining when we were going on at 10 of midnight, and John was like, brother, I need you to do 45. I told him I'd give you a full show. I'm like, John, the show's been going on since 8. It's 10 of midnight.
Part of the problem was I was drinking, and I don't drink anymore. I used to go to the bar, and I'd want the place open at midnight. Let's keep going.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I didn't care.
You wanted to stay out.
I wanted to stay in party. It was a big party to me. I was having a good time.
I remember a show I did for you, John, I think it was at Club Platforms.
We brought this one up.
Yeah. Where I was hosting. I was only a few years in and I was hosting. And I ran out of material with the number of comics that were on the show. And I went up to you and said, I got nothing left. Do you want me to just bring acts up? And you said, no, I'll take over. You did a good job. And we were 2 hours plus in, and I was just out of material. And John took over, and he did over an hour worth of guys coming up still. Yep. And there was still a crowd. I'll give you that. There was still a crowd. Right,
I hate to tell you, that show's still going on. He just has someone else hosting it right now. Yeah. That was from 3 years ago.
Yeah, Rick Adana doesn't have the longest show.
Agent Grill and Lemongrass and I put in tighter shows, but when I book certain shows, I have marathons. I do.
Yeah, but that's all right. We appreciate it. But we always say to people, though, that's the great thing about you, John, is regardless, you give everyone a shot. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, there's not a lot, it's not like it used to be where you would go to a comedy club where they'd have a ton of open mic nights and that weekly show to be able to work out your material. So, those Perrotta-thons, they serve a purpose, especially for the newer guys. It gives them a chance to work stuff out,
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I wouldn't change anything. I had a blast. No. 29 years. I'm in my 30th. I had a blast. I met all you guys and all the guys I've met, girls. We had a great time.
Absolutely.
That was the amazing part is the people that I've met that I'm still friends with to this day, 19 years later. I mean, you two guys I met like in my first year of starting comedy. Yeah. Both of you I met at the Station nightclub when we were doing Mike Flinzo's open mic on Wednesday nights, and we're still friends to this day. So I mean, you make some real friendships when you're out there doing this stuff. So that's some of the best. That's some of the best parts of this.
Yeah. I think, John, the first time I met you might have been at the Providence Waterfront Festival. Did you do that? Didn't you do that?
Periwinkles. They booked.
Yeah, Periwinkles.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in like these mini tents where they'd set up for like 25 or 30 people down in Fox Point. And I think that was the first time I met you. You had the beard. You look like Serpico, brother.
Crazy. You were talking about, I got to tell a Bob Marley story. I don't know if I ever told you guys. I used to book him like 94, 95.
Yep.
Pay him $150 back then.
Before he blew
Bob
up.
Marley now what he's getting. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get this gig. I had a girl that lived across the street from me. She was a heavy woman, and she had this group called, I forget what the name it was, basically like overweight or heavy women and guys that admire them. So they would go and have the Cranston Portuguese Club, Cranston, Rhode Island.
Yep.
They would go there and have all these different functions, and all the girls would go, like overweight women, and the guys like the overweight woman would go, and they had different things. So they wanted to have a comedy night. So I said, all right, I got Bob Marley and George Ham, and I hosted. So we get there.
It's a great show.
Yeah, we get there, and she said to me, whatever you do, no fat jokes. So I said, no problem. I told George Ham, I told Bob Marley, listen, guys, whatever you do, don't do one fat joke, because we won't even get paid. I mean, the lady said, no fat jokes. I go up, George Ham goes up, everything's going good. I call Bob Marley up. 45, 50 minutes of fat jokes, one after the other. One after the other. I'm in the back horrified because I'm just starting to book stuff, right? A couple of years. I'm like horrified in the back. We're not going to get paid. This guy's not. He destroyed the room. Destroyed it. They loved him. They loved him.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how you get booked for a show and the person who books it is the most sensitive and tells you what the audience is or isn't going to like. And then sometimes you throw caution to the wind and you do it and they love it. And it goes totally against what they thought it was going to be.
Oh, I knew then Bob Marley was going to, I knew.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be huge.
Yeah. But there's also some guys like Bob Marley, and Lenny Clark is like this too. Guys that can say some pretty offensive things or things that should upset people, but because they're so likable when they're on stage and they have such a likable personality, they can get away with stuff other people can't. You know, I had Lenny Clark at the Bradley Playhouse, and he was saying some things that if I said them, and that's my home crowd, I would get banned for life from the place. And he's getting standing ovations. You know, it's like, I'm like, I can't believe he's literally on stage telling these jokes. And I'm going, well, this was fun while it lasted. This, you know, oh, well, it is.
Some of these big comics, they can get away with a lot of stuff.
It's amazing, right?
But he's so friendly and so nice, and people love him that he can get away with it because they're just like, well, he's just joking around.
Yeah, he doesn't mean it. Well, and see with Bob, I think Bob is so self-deprecating first, calling himself a dink and, you know, making fun of himself and his family first, that if he then goes off and starts busting people on the crowd, you know it's not coming from a malicious place.
Right.
You know?
He disarms them with that first. Yeah.
You have to do that first, though.
I remember one show, we used to do the Great Imposter World, Rhode Island. We had a fundraiser.
Great Imposter.
We had Bob Marley and Tom Carter on back-to-back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bob Marley, Tom Carter, back to back. That was like around 93, 90, 94, whatever it was. Imagine getting those two guys back to back.
That Great Imposter was one of my favorite rooms to play. That back room, it was a dinner show. It was so much fun. Yeah. I miss those days. I miss those days. It
was an Italian restaurant, Scott, in Warwick. And unfortunately, they weren't doing well during the week, but weekends they did all right. Saturday night we had comedy. We didn't know what we were doing. $5 cover charge, and all of a sudden it was a hot room. Ed Regine would stop in. Charlie Hall would stop in. We got Carter there. We got Bob Marley there. I think Bill Burr came there. It was like, and then a year and a half, 2 years. Unfortunately, the place went out of business. Now it's last I knew it was a drugstore.
Who started that?
Was that a lot of fun?
Brian Deary started that, right? And then you took it over.
He let us have the Saturday night. I think he did Friday.
Okay. Yep.
We had 100 people. I go in there every Saturday. How many reservations? 80. And then we'll get to walk. It was like 100 people every week. You know, it was like
hey, listen, John, before the pandemic, I mean, even you had the show at Twin Oaks occasionally, like 4 times a year. You'd have that small side room, fill it with 100 people. And that was a great show, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
the age of brother.
The Asia Grill. The Asia Grill was an awesome
love
show.
that room. Yeah.
I saw the owner recently. They're still
Charlie.
doing takeout out there. Yeah, Charlie. I wanna get back to shows there eventually, but I'm not sure if it'll be the fall or next year. But I'll get back to it.
Yeah.
I love that room.
I've done it twice, and it was packed, and they were awesome crowds. That was a really fun room.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun there.
That's the thing, John. You've got a knack for finding restaurants that have these back rooms, because a lot of restaurants don't necessarily have that. But
right,
but when you find one that has it, and it's great. Not long ago, right before pandemic too, you had another place in southeastern Mass that was like that, like in the Bridgewater area, or not Taunton. I don't even remember the name of it. It was like an Italian restaurant, but there was a back room.
Oh, yeah, I forget the name of it. I remember.
It was in a little strip mall, right?
Yeah.
It was like just a little strip mall, Italian restaurant, back room. Great, that's the thing. That's the key.
Sometimes I'll be riding, like I was riding by lemongrass one day, and I looked up and it said function room.
Yeah.
So I went in, the owner in the back room, talked to him. I said, let me come back. I made a flyer. I made a homemade flyer, the shitty flyers I used to make. I went back. I said, look, give me a Friday or Saturday night. No, I can't. So I said, how about Thursday night? I give you Thursday night. I said, I guarantee you I'll get 40 people in on Thursday night. We had 110 the first show.
Wow.
I'd been there like 7 years or something. We had a sold out show scheduled for with Billy Simons in March. And then
I know.
Everything went down. It's like, I can't wait for these rooms.
That's one. I think I've done Asia Grill maybe 3 or 4 times, but I've only done Lemongrass once. I only did that one.
Put you in the first one back.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying that so you book me, but I'll send you my avails after the show, brother.
I'll put you and Scott. You guys will be in the first Lemongrass.
That's awesome. I can send you my avails right now. Anything.
I know, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wide open.
Rough year for comics.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because we were talking about it earlier. So, like, I did one for Scott that was outdoor, like in a field, which I loved it. I thought that was such a fun show.
It was very fun. Yeah.
And then I did one for Dave Radigan. It was like a drive-in style show. And then a few for Rob Steen up in New Hampshire at the movie theaters that he books, where, it's normally like a 300 seat capacity. They got to cut down to like 100 or 120. Still good. But other than that, that's all I've had since like last, I think it was March 7th or 8th was my last Funny for Fun show.
What do you think about Funny for Fun, Scott? You think it'll come back this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think once they start opening up capacity, the problem is right now you're at 66. Like I think as of today, Rhode Island is at 66% capacity. I think once we get back to 100% capacity, even if people have to wear masks coming into a venue, but once they sit, and if tables need to be 8 feet apart, I think once you can get 100 to 120 people in a VFW hall that holds like 250,
right?
I think we'll come back. I think I know I've reached out to a couple of the organizations that I've worked with in the past and said, hey, when you guys are ready, no rush, but when you guys are ready and you're looking to raise money, please, get in touch with me. I know I did one. I've been doing one for a cheerleading team for a couple of years, and the cheer gym got bought out by like a national cheer chain, I guess.
Yeah.
And they've got like 20 different gyms throughout the country, and they consistently, like, they follow the blueprint right, correctly, and they make anywhere between $25,000 and $27,000 on their their fundraiser. And the owner of the Rhode Island gym said, listen, man, we'll get you all over the country because we've got 20 gyms all over the place. And we know this works. So we'd love to have you get hooked up with the other gyms in the, in the country.
That'd be awesome.
I think it's going to take some time, obviously, but listen, organizations are hurting right now. I mean,
right.
not for profit organizations and little leagues and, they need money. So, what better way to do it? And I think, like I said before we even went on, I think once we come out of this, people are so starved for entertainment now.
Yep.
They're sick of watching Zoom shows. No offense. They're sick of watching. I realize
I'm
that
sick of it.
halfway out of my mouth, John. I realize.
Everybody's,
Oh,
a lot of people are doing Zoom
but
shows.
they're tired of streaming, like live entertainment, to go and see a band on a Friday night or go and see a comedy show on a Friday or a Saturday. I think we're going to come back stronger than ever. I really do.
Well, Ace, you mentioned Rob Steen. You look at the few people that are doing live shows right now.
Yeah.
You know, like Ryan Brow has his comedy craft brew shows. You got Steen booking. They are selling out all their shows every weekend. And yes, they have limited capacity because of restrictions, but they are selling out every show at every place every weekend because people want to get out.
You don't know what you got until it's gone, right?
Right.
So people didn't realize just how much fun it was to go out and see live entertainment. Now that they haven't had it for a year or more, it's, you know, it's only going to make sense that they're going to want it.
And when you mention Zoom shows, I you know, I don't like watching something like this, a kind of a conversational type of thing is one thing.
Yeah.
You know, when the pandemic first started, people would watch a Zoom stand-up comedy show.
Yeah.
Though, notice there aren't as many of those anymore because that wore itself out quick because it's not the same.
I tried one of them and I didn't really like it. I thought it was too difficult.
And only a few people, like there were a ton of people doing cooking shows, and you don't see as many of those anymore either.
Stuff kind of fizzles out after a while. Right?
You did good, Ace, with yours. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I still do it. In fact, I'm going to do it tomorrow night because we were on Mike Murray and Brad Pierce's show last week, and they were talking so much smack because they went to Alan Fung's house. You know, Alan Fung, former mayor of Cranston, Rhode Island, and you know, the guy's family owns a Chinese restaurant. Of course, he knows how to cook Chinese food, right? So he had them on for his show, and they were bragging, "Oh, Ace, you're not gonna cook as good as Alan Fung did. You better bring your A game. You better bring your A game, right?" I served him the food last week. He's like, "Oh my God, this is the best chicken I've ever had, dude. This is the best." So I'm gonna do a show tomorrow night. Because when I do it, it's like every other week. I mean, when the pandemic first hit, I was doing it every night. Every single night I was cooking stuff for like a good couple of months. And then I started cutting back, you know.
I think these Zoom shows, though, like the talk show like this, the podcast, they've helped us all get through this. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. This is therapy for us so we don't go nuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to keep doing, Jessica Lee's a good kid. And we do the week. She's a therapist. We do the weekly check-in. We're going to do it we do it Thursday. We're going to do every Tuesday. I'm going to keep that going for a while.
Yeah.
Promote shows and have some fun, you know. And but I'm not going to, like, now some weeks I do 2 of these. I've done 5 in a week. I'm nuts.
Right, yeah.
I get compulsive with everything, but I get to see all my friends, and I don't care. Whoever watches, great. We got people watching. I have a good time, and it's getting me through this, you know.
Exactly.
You do one a week, John. It's just like us doing the podcast. We schedule one a week. We do it every week. We treat it like a job.
Yeah.
But we love doing it. You know what I mean? And that's why we did it we started in 2017. So this is 4 years now.
Yeah.
At the end of this month will be 4 years.
Awesome.
You know,
you guys I give you a lot of credit. You guys have done a great job.
Well,
sticking with it, you know. And
thanks. But what we learned, you know, because Scott did a lot of research when he started the podcast, and what he found out was it's all about consistency. You have to treat it like a job. We know so many people that have started podcasts and they do it, and you know, they do it for a couple of months, and then you don't hear from them for like 6 months, and then they do another couple of episodes, and then you don't hear them. You know, and what we've done, that's one thing we have always done, is consistently every single week, every Thursday morning, a new episode of Behind the Funny goes up on all the podcast services. And we really do treat it like a job. Like I'm in my office right now. I'm actually in the podcast studio right now. So I don't know if you can see, we're in the basement. That's our new logo is
nice.
You know, live from the basement. But in front of me, cool. I have a dry erase board. I have the recording schedule, the release schedule, and then, you know, a wish list of people that we're trying to get on the show. And every week. And if we don't even, so like, for instance, I don't have a guest booked this week. I couldn't get anyone. We're still going to get together and we're going to work on stuff because Scott had the great idea of, we've been doing this show now for 4 years and people are sharing these hilarious bad gig stories. And so Scott was like, we should write a book. We should write a book, give everyone credit in the book for their stories, but just have all of these stories. Because I think, John, you were on the show.
Yep, he was.
Right?
It was him and Mike McCarthy.
When we did the show, we knew, you know it's going to be a bad gig when.
Yep.
Which meant, as a comic, when you walk into a gig, if any of these things are there or not there, it's going to be a bad gig. And do you remember we tried coming up with a list of 10 and we came up with 12? That was, we couldn't come up with any less than that. We came up with 12. So the book is going to be all of those categories and then all of these stories that fit into each category.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, and obviously, your name will be interspersed throughout the book.
we should.
Well, hopefully, there's some great gigs for Perrotta and some
of course, yeah. Well, yeah. The funniest, dude, the funniest line you had. I don't remember which episode it was, but
Dave DiLorenzo's. He had a great line.
That's what it was. So we had a
tribute show.
Yeah, we had a tribute to Dave DiLorenzo, who unfortunately we lost. Believe it or not, it's already been a year. It was Valentine's Day of 2020. We lost him.
Big loss.
And we were talking on that show, and we were talking about how Dave would book anywhere, and we talked about some of the crappy places that Dave booked, and you go, brother, I'd book a bus stop, but I wouldn't book that place.
It was the gazebo.
Yeah, that was it. The gazebo at Garden City, in the middle of Garden City. We lost it. You were like, even I wouldn't book that, brother, and I'd book a bus stop.
I remember saying that.
Yeah.
There wasn't much I wouldn't book in my day, I'll tell you that. If they were willing to try it, I was willing to try it.
Yeah, park bench. How many people can you fit on that park bench, brother?
We had some awful gigs and some great gigs.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
John, we pick on you for some of the rough ones, but I got to tell you, there's been times that I've been surprised. I remember one gig you booked me for. It was like a motorcycle bar, and you had they do like a chicken dinner and then a comedy show afterwards. And you booked me for it. Was me, you, and Larry Miles. And you said the year before, I won't say the comic's name, there was a comic that they really did not like.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes, and they were very upset. They were very upset about it. So
Gagne's Tavern. That was Gagne's Tavern. It's changed over now, but it was Gagne's Tavern.
And you're like, you were like, they were really upset. So I want to give them a really good show. So we go there, and I'm walking in this place, and I'm like, I might not make it out of here alive, because
you got a lot like that.
You got these big burly guys.
Oh, yeah.
And everything. I'm like, if they heckle, you just let them, because you know what? But you know what? We had a blast that night, Ace. We had so much fun. They were into it. They would let you bust their balls. They would let you come back at them.
Yep.
John hosted. I went on second. Larry closed out the show. And we had a blast the whole night.
Well, that's the thing. You never know what you're going to walk into. Like, John, you booked a place. I think it was out on Route 44 somewhere, Rusty's Bar. Do you remember that place?
Oh, yeah.
It was like Rusty's Bar and Grill.
No.
Rusty, it was like on Route 44 in like Raynham or something like that. And, you walk in a little dive bar, but they were great. Once you got them going, they were a lot of fun.
I think I remember the place you're talking about. It was bad when you ride by places. I booked that. I used to book that. I rode by where Rosie's Lounge is knocked down.
I saw that.
Then the next one, All Star Bar and Grill, I had done some parties there. Then I went by Hooters. Hooters called me around 93, 94. My name was outside of Hooters. Comedy, Monday night, John Perrotta. We used to stand in the doorway. People were going in and out. We're standing in the doorway.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Dave Andrews, he's on stage with the cowboy hat, playing a guitar. And these three guys are walking out. They grab his hat, take off. He figures they're going to come back in with the hat. I go outside. They drive off. They stole his hat. So they passed the collection around and they collected money for his hat.
That was one of the weirdest gigs because you walked in and you were playing in the hallway in the entryway, like, and then there were cameras on us so that you could see on either side of the restaurant. You could watch the TVs and watch the show. But it was hilarious watching people walk in that had no idea there was a show going on. They're like, hey, let's try Hooters tonight. And all of a sudden you walk in and there's like some guy with a microphone standing there as you're walking in to go get some wings and beer.
I think I did it about a year and a half too. It was crazy.
I know.
So where does Ace, where does that fit on the list? No focal point.
No,
you know?
There was no light. There was no focal point. All the lights were on. We did have a microphone and we were on closed circuit TV, but you know, as you're doing your act, you feel people walking by you and they're looking at you like, what the hell are you doing? What's going on here? You know,
I booked some wacky stuff, man. I gotta tell you. I look back now, like I should have been putting in the nut holes. Like, what was this guy doing? Somebody the comedy god should have said, this guy's nuts, lock him up.
No, but you know what? You had the flip side of that, John, because like I did that show for you one time that you did for the Special Olympics in Rhode Island. I think it was at the West Valley Inn.
West Valley Inn.
400 people packed, and it was fantastic.
Amazing show.
Great. You know, and then I would, you know, go do one for you at a little pub that was like across the street from the airport plaza, you know, just down from Hooters.
Rosie's. That was Rosie's Lounge.
That was Rosie's, yeah.
And you know, it was during the Celtics were in the playoffs, and it was like 2008 or something like that. And it was 3 people at the bar yelling at us to shut up.
John, did you book the Mardi Gras for a while? Did you book Mardi Gras? No, that was Dave DiLorenzo that used to book it.
DiLorenzo, I think. Yeah, I didn't book the Mardi Gras.
He booked it one time on Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh.
And then we're like, can you guys turn the TVs off? I mean, this was long before the Patriots were ever in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, not, you know, but it was still the Super Bowl.
No, the story I've told more than once is during 2004 Red Sox, Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
I've told you the story. It was Spike Tobin, myself, and is it Greg Johnson, the skinny
Greg
one?
Greg Johnson. Yeah,
used to do you know,
Mick Jagger.
Rowan from Off Track Betting.
Yeah.
You want to drown me in a waterbed? You know? He was the host, and we were at a sports
Tom
forum.
Dustin too.
We were at a sports. No, this wasn't one with Dustin. It was just the 3 of us, and we were at a sports bar in Pawtucket that you booked, John. And we're like. And we're like, do you want to wait till the game's over? And the manager goes, no, we'll just mute the TVs.
It must have been Brooksy's pub.
We'll just mute the TVs. It'll be fine. And we're like, this is like Red Sox Yankees in the playoffs. I don't really think we should do that. And he goes, no, it'll be fine. He mutes the TVs. There was an audible, it wasn't even a boo. It was this guttural groan that came from the crowd. They were so mad. And Greg goes up there and he starts welcoming the crowd and everything, and they're like, shut the hell. You know, what the hell are you doing? And they're yelling at him. Next thing you know, we basically performed for each other.
Yeah.
Because we were the only ones paying attention. So he does his act looking at Spike and I sitting in the booth. And Spike decides when he got up to go over to the bar where they're watching the TVs to try to engage them. I thought he was going to get strangled and thrown out of the building.
Yeah, right.
I just stood on stage and just did my act and said, if they listen, they listen. But I was like, whew.
Well, that's those were one of the categories for, you know, it's going to be a bad gig when the comedy show is a surprise to the audience.
Yes.
They have no idea there's going to be a show. They just think they're going to watch the Red Sox and the Yankees, and little do they know, hey, it's comedy night.
Hey, well, when you walk in, you feel great because the place is packed. You're like,
yeah,
this
right.
is going to be
it's
awesome.
just not for you.
Then you notice all the jerseys, and you're like, oh,
yeah, right. Yeah.
I told you guys a story. I love doing bachelor parties, but
oh yeah,
2 times. One time, this guy busted my balls. He had a cordless mic and he was going under the table, and I didn't know who it was.
Oh, really?
That was one bachelor party where they got me. I usually get them. They were all laughing because this guy kept fucking with me, and I didn't know who he was. But then when I knew who he was, the next time I saw him, gig, I got him, you know. But then another time I did a bachelor party. I think I told you guys, this huge bike. I was like 250 then.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I'm doing my show, the bachelor, and all of a sudden this bike, he was 7 feet tall, I don't know how many. He lifted me up. I'm in the air. I'm in the air at the Edgewood Yacht Club. I got the mic in my hand. I'm still talking. I'm thinking to myself, the window's right there, and the bay is right there. He's going to throw me out the window, and I can't swim. I can't swim. I went in the Navy and everything. I'm nuts. I can't swim. So now I'm thinking I'm going to die at a bachelor party. I'm going to die. Right. So then he puts me down, and I'm like, I finished up, and I've seen this guy 3 or 4 times around town. How you doing? This guy's nuts. I thought I was going to die, Scott.
Well, John, I love the story you told on our podcast on Behind the Funny. When was it you Joe. Or was it Joe? Joe told the story about the two of you guys over on Block Island when you called the guy Thurston Howell and the audience wanted to kill you.
You want to talk about a hell gig? Oh, we got the sound. Don't worry about it. It's going to be great, right? We get there. It was at what's that place?
Ballards.
So I'm here. The audience is like 5 miles away.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a runway between you.
The sound system is cutting in and out. We got the sound system cutting in and out. And I'm trying to. It was a disaster. Then the show gets over. Whatever the budget we agreed on, he said no, it was this much. I said no, it's this much. 2-3 months arguing with the guy on the phone. Finally sends me the check, and for the correct amount, it was a hell gig.
And I don't think Ballards has ever done comedy since. Because I've walked through there and I've gone, hey, they got bands here. I wonder if they'd ever do comedy here. And then I'm like, then I heard that story. I'm like, yeah, no.
Rock and Joe got seasick on the way over on the Block Island Ferry. Yep. And then after the gig, we took a cab to this. They gave us a little dinky hotel room, right?
Yeah.
And he forgot his pickup for the guitar. Left it in the cab, right? So now I'm on a mission at 1 a.m, drunk around Block Island, looking for the cab.
Trying to look for the one cab.
I found it.
Did you really?
Don't ask me how I found it, guys. Hey, we left something in the cab. I'm in another cab riding around looking for him.
Oh, you were in another cab looking for him?
Because I was at Rock and Joe's at the time. I don't want that. I didn't know him. I just getting to know him.
Right. Yeah, you didn't want to piss him off.
Yeah, right. I'm like life and death riding around Block Island looking at Joe's pickup.
Oh my God.
It's been a crazy career.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, you wouldn't change any of it, would you?
I wouldn't change anything. I'd do it all over again. Every marathon,
every bad gig,
Perrotta, all the good shows, all the tight shows, the long shows.
No, because you know what? We all grew from those shows. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't grow from having a good show. You grow from having bad shows. And you know, I think that's one of the things that we've found by doing the podcast is, you know, being a comic, we're always in our heads, right? We're always in our heads thinking, oh, am I good enough for this? Should I have done this gig? And then you talk to these other comics who are way advanced, like, you know, like I said, you talk to Bobby Collins and he tells you some shit gig story that he did, like a horrible gig. And you're like, oh, it's not just me. Like even these really well-established people have had crappy gigs, you know, everyone's had them.
Everybody's had them. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's all part of it, but
that's
a
great idea for the book. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun going through these stories and compiling them and putting them together and picking these categories and everything like that. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things we've been doing. When we don't have a guest, we go back to like season 1 and we'll go to, you know, so and so's episode and we're like Joe's episode when he talks about that, you know, the Block Island gig and we're like, oh yeah, that's right. All right, what category does that fit into? And then we'll try and, you know, label it with a category. So when we put the book together, we've got different things for each chapter will be one of those categories.
And the worst part is, John, is during this pandemic, as we're going through these so-called bad gigs, we're sitting here saying, I'd do that right now.
Yeah,
I would do that one right now.
I would go back to that backyard party where no one was paying attention to me. You know.
Yeah, I'd go to Ballards right now.
I did a gig in Foster at some redneck bar, and I don't know what I said to the guy. This guy comes up to me. I'm on a stage. I think I had a lot of friends there. I'm holding a mic. He was literally, his nose and my nose were about a centimeter apart. He was right there, and I'm thinking, okay. And I guess he was getting divorced. He was all worked up, and he wanted to find everybody a drink. And he apologized, but I was ready for a brawl. I said, you know, and people said to me, they always said, John, you work in the prison. You know, when I started in the old media, get involved in a lot of different crazy shit. But I'll tell you what, the comedy is dangerous too.
Crazy. Yeah, right. It's just as dangerous.
I mean, I had a guy ready to throw me out in the water. I had this guy come in my face. I mean, it was dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous business, man, sometimes,
I know. But you know what's funny? You talk about the bachelor parties. What's funny is then every once in a while, I'll be out somewhere and someone will come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, man, you did my brother-in-law's bachelor party 25 years ago, and we still call that guy Bill Nye." Like, because I looked at some guy and he looked like Bill Nye, the science guy. And you don't think about the fact that we just say whatever comes to mind. You don't think about the fact that that shit's going to stick for someone for years,
I've had that happen too, man. They come up to you, 6 years ago, you call me this, you call me that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, my God. You called. I did a bachelor party for this guy, and I don't know. There was a guy that looked like Captain Quint from Jaws, so I kept calling him Quint. And then they told me he was like a waste management guy, right? And I'm like, what is he? Hop on top of the garbage truck and go, "We need a bigger garbage truck," and I'm like doing a pirate voice. They said to the day that guy passed away, unfortunately, they called him Quint. And we don't realize it when we're doing it. We're just trying to get through our set and make people laugh,
But you gotta love those moments when people come back to you and they remember some little thing like that happened during your show that they were at.
It's fun. It's fun when that happens.
Those are the moments that make it all worth it. That little moment when that you made their night and made such an impression on them that stuck with them for that long. Those are the best moments ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember being at oh my God, this was how long ago, John. I was at JG Goff's. You remember that place?
I remember that.
Down by City Lights. It was a little separate building right over the Point Street Bridge. It was right there. It was a little bar. I remember being there one night outside, and I was there with a bunch of buddies years ago. And a bunch of guys come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, you did our friend's bachelor party 6 months ago. You were hilarious, blah, blah, blah. Let us buy you drinks, blah, blah, blah." My roommate, who, was living with me at the time, comes up to me. He goes, "I've never been more proud to be your friend." He goes, "It was like being with a celebrity." I go, "Yeah, don't get used to it. It doesn't happen that often. Trust me."
That's a great part of the business, though, doing comedy when you have a great set and you think that's it. And then 5 years later, 10 years later,
so you made an impression on someone.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than the opposite. Someone comes up to you and goes, "Remember that crap you said to me last time I saw you?"
Punches you out.
I'm like, "I don't even remember you. What are you talking about?"
Right.
I haven't had that happen too much, but I had close calls on stage. I remember one time a guy in Narragansett, I was outside and I was having fun with this older guy, and it was going great. And then all of a sudden, his son, tough Italian guy, "Don't pick on my father anymore." And I'm like, yeah. At the end of my set, I said, "Look, this is comedy. I'm known as the Italian Don Rickles. I interact with the audience. I don't need to hurt anybody. I have to tell. I had to put a disclaimer up there or whatever."
Yeah, right.
It's comedy. I mean, the guy was having fun. Your father was having fun. The guy he was mad. He was mad. But I don't get that. The last bunch of years, I didn't really piss off that I knew.
No.
Anybody really mad. I think when I was learning the crowd work here and there, it would just kick somebody off,
But we've talked about you on the podcast before about how the way you disarm people is you're making fun of yourself and you're making fun of different people in the crowd, but you have a smile on your face the whole time. So it's not malicious. It's the people know you're just busting chops. Now, do some of my friends want to sit in the front row when they know you're on a show? Absolutely not. My buddy Tim is like, "Oh, is that guy John Perrotta going to be there? He's going to pick on me. He's going to call my shirt a tablecloth again." It's like, "Tim, don't worry. He calls someone's shirt a tablecloth every night. You're not special. You're one of 100,000 people that he's done that to. Don't worry about it."
I'm trying to remember, Mike, because I haven't been like you guys. I haven't been on stage in a year. And I got stuff coming up in a few weeks, and I looked at some videos last night. One video I looked at was at Cello's, and I said to a guy, I said, "What do you do? What do you do for work?" And he said, "I'm a fabricator." I said, "So am I. I was married twice. I had to lie all the time."
Nice.
I love that. I wish I could come with that line. Like, no, I think twice somebody's told me they were a fabricator. I don't even know what that is. What kind of job? and I put it like he was like lying, you know. It was fun.
There are certain responses. It's like you wish you could plant that in the crowd every time because it just is so perfect. But with your, that's what makes your act tough, though, is because if you don't get the right response, you got to be ready with something, you know. Whereas you know, Ace being a storyteller and me being more of a storyteller, we can do our act. Whereas you need that response to be able to go into what you want to go to next.
Because I don't have an act.
No, you're walking a tightrope, you know? which to me makes it. It's sometimes that is the funniest shit ever because you know you're depending on them, and it's almost like you customize the show to them. You know. And to the crowd, they're like, "Oh my God, he just made that up on the spot."
Exactly.
And he now,
and
you know,
some stuff I make up, and some I already got
in your head.
Prepared, you know,
right.
Well, and that's why I love working with you, because sometimes I'll see you ask the question, and I've seen you respond to that question before, and I think I know what you're going to say, and then you'll say something completely different.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even see that.
He went in a different way. Yeah.
And it's so funny.
Well, but that's what's great about his act is that he has that stuff in the back that is tried and true. And yes, it's crowd work, but it allows you to kind of like ease into it so that now you can think of stuff off the cuff because you've got that safety net of your regular crowd work stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you start off with your safety net stuff and then something might come to you, you know, whereas someone who has to just do full crowd work where they don't have anything prepared, that's an even bigger tightrope because they don't have that other stuff to back themselves, you know, to back themselves up with.
John just said he doesn't have an act, so you don't have to worry about remembering anything, John. You just go out there and do your thing.
Yeah, just go out. It'll come back to you. It's like riding a bike.
Yeah. I got some set jokes, but most of those are just fillers until I can think of, okay, let me go over here. And sometimes if I find one guy or one lady in the crowd and they're good sport, I can go back to them and get like 15 minutes on one person. You know what I mean? That's what happens.
I think the funniest parts of your show is when, because you've been doing it so long, you've heard pretty much every type of job, but occasionally someone like the fabricator might trip you up. And I love when you go, brother, what do you do for a living? And then they'll say it and you're like, that's cool. I got nothing for that. And then you go to the person next to him, you know, what do you do? I hope it's more interesting than what this guy does.
I don't know. I do say that. I do.
For us, that's funny because we're the ones that know you've got a line for everything. So when you get stumped, to us, that's even funnier.
No one always stumps me. Guy says I'm an IT. Like, I got nothing for that.
Yeah, I got nothing for that.
I got to come up with an IT joke. If you can write me one, guys,
we'll work on it. We'll work on it.
There's a lot of IT guys, and I know nothing for it.
We'll have to think of something.
Hey, it's been fun having you guys on. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, listen, just, if people are listening and they haven't checked out Behind the Funny before, check it out. It's on, it's on Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, Spotify. You name it. Every streaming thing. I mean, we're on Pandora. We're on YouTube. Any way you get podcasts, take a listen to it. We really, Scott did a great job when he came up with the idea for the podcast. It was, he was a fan of, was James Lipton and Behind the Act, Inside the Actor's Studio.
I love that guy. Yeah.
He
passed away. Did he pass away?
He passed away like 2 years ago.
He was really good. He was really good.
But that was Scott's original intention, was let's do something like that where we interview comedians about their background, and it's amazing.
You guys have done an awesome job. Yeah, definitely.
It's amazing to have people who come on who sometimes, like I said, they don't know us and they don't necessarily feel comfortable. And then by the end, we honestly feel like we've made a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
So check
what kind of guests you have coming up? You have anybody you can mention that you got coming up?
So this past week's episode, we had Wes Martins, really funny guy.
Funny guy, really funny.
He went from California to DC to Worcester. That's the usual career path of, stand-up comedy. We all know. Ending in Worcester. I think this week, is it Greg Bogus? Or is it one of the other shows that we did?
It's gonna be
the panel show.
Yeah, with John Morris and Derek Fonseca, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite comedy movies, and we ended up. I think it became more of a Steve Martin tribute show.
Yeah.
Because we talked about The Jerk, and then we went into Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and it ended up being a tribute show to Steve Martin. Yeah, and his stand-up and everything like that. So,
and then in a couple of weeks, we've got guests that are coming up. We've got Kevin Mulhern from 94 HJY coming on.
Yeah, great guy.
And Al Romas, like I said. And then like I said, I got a couple of people that I'm just waiting. We just had Chris McGuire. I don't know. Do you remember Chris McGuire? Started at Periwinkles. He started at Periwinkles. He was Tom Cotter's roommate. Tom Cotter got him to try comedy. Now, this guy has been the executive producer of like a ton of he was the writer, one of the writers for a bunch of the Comedy Central roasts, like the Charlie Sheen roast, like some of these big roasts that were on TV. And then he's the executive producer and showrunner of that Snoop and Martha's potluck cooking show, where Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart get together.
So he's doing great.
He's doing great. Yeah. It's crazy. Some of the people that have gone on, not necessarily to do stuff in stand-up, but TV, other things in TV.
I made it into Zoom in my daughter's bedroom.
Yeah, right.
No, we've talked to a lot of writers, and I got to tell you, John, as much as we like talking to the performers, a lot of these guys that got into writing are really interesting guys.
No, they have so many stories to tell. That's what they do is they tell stories.
They're really good interviews, these writers. So, people go back and check through our catalog of some of these amazing guys that we've had on, like him, Martin Olson, Mike Ben, so some really great writers and then a bunch of great guests otherwise.
Yeah,
you guys have done awesome. I've admired you.
Thanks.
Quite a few of the episodes. I got to catch more because send me the link. If you could send me the
link.
link.
Yeah.
I'm not good going to find this stuff. Send me the link.
You know what we'll do, John? When you post this show, when you post it, we'll put the link in the comments.
Great.
This way you can see it, and then your audience can see it as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Hey, it was great having you guys on.
Thanks so much, John.
I've been friends with Ace.
Love you, brother.
I was in contest for 91. I met you, and I met Scott around 2008,
2001, 2002,
2001, 2002. Because you did Stitches in the Mall, right? We did that.
Yep.
All right, so I've known you almost 20 years, probably.
Just about, yeah.
Wow. So I know you guys are long. You guys have been great friends. I love you both. Thanks for coming on.
Well.
Love you too, brother.
I wish you guys the best. And coming out of this pandemic, we're gonna come back and, like you said,
stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. We're gonna get some shows going and have some fun. Thanks,
awesome.
Guys.
Thanks a lot, Johnny.
Thanks, guys.